The Nerd Academy podcast is released weekly at 12 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, available on our website at www.thenerdacademypodcast.com and wherever you listen to podcasts. You can find the Nerd Academy podcast on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and YouTube. You can also help support the show by going to patreon.com/The Nerd Academy podcast, where every donation allows us to bring you more exciting content every week.
Good morning, class, and welcome back to the Number One Contender podcast, the show your favorite nerds talk all things movie, trivia, schmodown. I am your host, Jarod the Dark Jedi Bateman Subs, and joining me, as always, is your resident Green Lantern and Green Day stan, Travis Grossman.
I need to at myself for a second.
At yourself for a second.
The title I have here, as was, oh god, this camera's so fucking, oh god, oh no. I had written what pay-per-view, like, out, except it didn't say pay-per-view, it said paper, like paper you write on paper. Yeah.
It's okay. I'm just now realizing that the silly little nickname I gave myself for the last episode of Nerd Academy, because I wrote it on the monitor in front of me, not like on my laptop where I could actually read it. It did not say Titans almost broke me. It said Titans almost broke me. I promise I can spell. We have a recap of last week and this week's matches. Very excited to bring those to you. However, this week we are going to be missing Griffin Newman. We are talking about that one. One moment. Let me scroll down here. Ty.
That's it. That's where I'm staying for the show. Thanks, guys.
We will be missing Ty Lieberman versus Drew McWeeny and Adam Collins versus JTE and
Snyder versus Chance.
Yeah, Snyder versus Chance. Just due to day of record, Travis is helping Lexi get back up to Penn State tomorrow. We're recording this on Friday, the day after we got back from Pittsburgh from our concert. So we are a little pressed for time. And since I work in a couple hours and Travis will be taking Alexis back to school on Saturday, like we said, we will be not able to get those in this week. However, those will be the first matches we talk about next week. So with all that out of the way, something else just occurred to me that I will talk to Travis about off air. All of that said, we are going to jump into this week's first match, which was Saul versus Brandon the Hitman Hanna. I listened to this, or actually, no, we're going to start with last week's because we missed a good bit of last week, starting with Paulo Yama versus Ethan Erwin. With which I will start this by saying Travis was right. I was very impressed. I did count Ethan Erwin out. And he really, really came to play and racked up his first TKO in this brand new division for him. Impressive level of play. I think the true level of difficulty with the new Inner Geekdom format was on display here, just because you had two former champions, both the current champion with Ethan Erwin, at least not at time of record, but for us now, the current singles champion, fighting for his life out there. And it was a really, really, really impressive match. Travis?
I guess I'm going at a Dutch angle for the entire show because I cannot seem to fix this.
It's a tribute to
I just almost really goofed myself because what you can't see directly to the right of my laptop is stacks and stacks of Magic cards that this just half spilled onto. Thankfully, I double sleeve all my cards that I use, so nothing has been damaged.
This is good.
That's why I've been hustling around for the past couple minutes, and now I will probably chug this soda when I'm not talking. Also, I was right. he's probably going to lose to Parker, but I was right.
I mean, yeah, he has a hell of a road to get through at this point, but still, I was impressed. Like I said, it's like the only thing I can say. Like I really did count him out, and that was my mistake. Clearly, like I was not expecting him to pull through. I wasn't expecting him to be able to beat Paulo Yama, but here we are, and this continues Paulo Yama's ability to just kind of cash in that chance whenever he wants to. That's one more variable on his plate as to what he'll spend it on. I doubt he'll spend it on the IG, but
no, not at all.
Yeah, really impressive match. I like this a lot.
It's strange how many IG matches now are going into slugfests.
Yeah,
very few perfect round ones. A lot of back and forths in round 2. And what we've been seeing are a lot of TKOs, not necessarily from burying the other player at like 6 points behind and they have to answer all, anything like that. People stumbling on threes, right? We'll talk about Saul Hanna later, but like the 3-point deficit is a real thing in IG, I think.
Yeah, I think you're right. It was, I thought of you with that math too. Like going in, I was like, oh well, there's the there's the Travis equation of how you win,
or at least how you up your chances, right?
Yeah.
And we'll talk more about that with Saul Hanna because I think there's more to talk about with Saul Hanna. But
I agree. Also, real quick before we go any further, quick bit of news. We do have the singles bracket finalized. I'm going to throw that up here and also read from my phone. Oh, finalized, but we know what it looks like. So we have that's the I pulled up the wrong one on my side, but displayed the right one. On the left side, we have Merle versus Schloth, Lon Harris versus King Khan, Kalinowski or Chance versus Paul Walker Hauser, Eric Zipper versus Janine, Paulo Yama versus Harley, the Barbarian versus Duralde, Chance or KO or Collins versus Peggy Gubbins, Jacoby Bancroft versus the Kid. And on the right side of the bracket, sorry.
Before we keep going, the actual the bracket on this one, has Collins in both slots as well. Like the corruption slots are all 3 of them for both.
Okay. I was about to ask you that because I thought from a certain point of view got that typo corrected. Shouts out to the homies from a certain point of view. The right side, this first chunk is pretty much matches we've all already seen. Bateman versus Nemiroff, we'll be talking about that. Jada Parama versus Fabretti, we talked about that already. Horowitz versus Kemp. Griffin Newman versus Video Drew. We got Bibbs versus Blunden. Drew McReady versus Ty Lieberman. We got Liz Shannon Miller versus David Del Rio. And Young v. White. So that is what we have to look forward to. Again, all dependent on how some of these, basically how the live event that's happening tonight is going to go down. We'll be able to speak on that more thoroughly next week. Again, it's unfortunate we're missing it, but again, we'll have a better idea as to how everything's going to shake out then. Moving forward with match recaps. And then next week we'll have our brackets. Obviously, there will be a little bit cheated because we'll have the answers as to who's won a good chunk of them. But
yeah, I'd
it's
have
not like
to
we
admit,
had brackets before the tournament started.
Yeah, and a bracket I would have made before going in cold would have already been broken with this week. So not by much. I don't think because I looked through it earlier before we started, and because I don't know who's going where for corruption. So I kind of just counted them out for now, and then where they slot in could change a lot of things. But
yeah,
my top 4 were Merle. I can't remember who I had in the bottom left. It was Merle, Bateman, Bibbs, and I think Brendan Meyer.
Wow.
Yeah.
Oh,
I know,
you can
shocker.
see you're counting corruption out for now, but yeah. I was gonna say the same way that like if I were to make mine right now, it's gonna look like KO
Like,
Chance Collins.
That's impossible, but
I know.
But like, and all the like putting them there is strictly off of like it's a match that I can see going either way, and I want my player to win, so I'm gonna take my player because like Griffin Newman is terrifying. We'll talk about him later. I'm so like he's on the warpath. Josh Horowitz is
Finstock
a scary
4.
player. What?
The Finstock 4 again, still really stunned and stunned by Roka's decision not to play in this tournament. Sorely missing Roka, but the exchange made their calculus on the Finstock 4, and I'm very excited to see how it pans out.
But yeah, right now that's where I'm sitting. I think it really for me it's Collins. Like Chance would shake things up depending on which one he's in, but Collins especially will muck up wherever he ends up in the bracket, if he ends up in the bracket.
Yeah, I agree. So, moving right along, Griffin Newman versus Video Drew. I'll let you take the floor because you already have some thoughts on Griffin Newman.
I did not expect this to be, and this is not a slate on Video Drew. I didn't expect this to be as close as it was. Video Drew showing some impressive play though, like hitting a 5. I think only with one repeat. Not getting a rough round 2. Those Stephen King questions were nuts.
Yeah, that's always like not only were the questions themselves difficult, she also had the like psychological moment of this is a category I'm good at and it is not being nice to me, and the terror that comes with that as well.
So I think that, but Newman did miss. He missed at least a question, maybe 2. I don't remember exactly. So he's not, on the perfect train necessarily. Still nuts, and like hitting 5-pointers like they're nothing too.
Yeah.
I think the Finstock Exchange has really come into their own on we will win on 5-pointers.
Yeah.
Where a lot of other players have gone, I'm going to force my opponent into a situation where they have to answer theirs first. Frank put it in a different way, but we're saying the same thing. He says you want to win on your 5 versus I'm saying you never want to have to answer your 5.
Yeah.
Right? Like your goal is to make your opponent hit get to their 5 first where they are likely to lose. And the Finstock Exchange seems to be in a place where even though they haven't had to answer many 5s, that between JTE and Newman, they haven't had a problem with them.
Yeah, it's a finishing blow. That 5
because
is that, like final haymaker.
Because there is also the back blow of that strategy where if they hit their 5, now you have to answer your 5. And that's kind of the flip on that too, is you're still answering your 5 for the win. Yeah. If you're answering first, it's just that there's more pressure on you because then there's that, like, they have a whole question looming over you,
Yeah, for sure. But no, I agree with you completely. Video Drew's been on fire this season. Like, and again, I don't want to discount her play in seasons prior, at all. But she has gone from feeling like a character player, like is a flirt and flouse, but actually competitive on some level, to being like an actual, like, I'd say A tier player, A to B tier player,
Yeah.
who like you can't just piss around with video Drew. Like she will put a hurting on you.
I mean, she had a perfect round one,
Yeah.
like she is beyond gimmick character. Not like gimmick player. She is.
Yeah.
And clearly working with the dungeon has helped her a lot in that regard. How dare you? Kaiser knows how to work with his players really well.
Yeah.
And
we'll get to that.
I think she's like the prime example where it shows.
Yeah. She's great. Speaking of Kaiser, the interplay between Drew and Kaiser was really funny. I really enjoyed the whole, like, this is my big break. We're going to be nice. We're not going to say any weird shit, John. Stop. It was very adorable. I would listen to a podcast that is our very own Mike Doling and Video Drew just having tea and talking. Of course, that would result in the presence of Cthulhu, but
probably
it would still be fun. They would definitely summon Cthulhu. But yeah, for last week's matches, our last one, Ben the Boss Bateman versus Scary Perry Nemiroff. I just watched this one before we started. This is the one that's freshest for me. And wow. I was holding my breath that entire back chunk of the match. Yep. I was so, like, Perry Nemiroff really is this bracket breaker. Like, she came within striking distance of doing it again. Like, really, really close. Like, I was not expecting there to be a sudden death here. Like, I know not too long ago when we had Frank Janish on, I had my whole thing where, like, I was comparing Dan Murrell and Ethan Erwin to Superman and Batman. Jumping universes, I feel like Perry Nemiroff is the Schmodown Squirrel Girl. Like, if you undercounter, you very quickly realize that, like, she can kill Thanos, and she's beating the shit out of him. Like,
anyone can. It takes a reasonable conversation.
Yeah.
As we've learned.
But I that's the thing with Perry Nemiroff. Like, people like counter out because you look at her record and you go, oh, she's 1-2. What can she do? And then she turns around and, shatters everybody's brackets last season by taking Mike out in round 1 of the singles tournament, and turned around here and almost did it to Ben Bateman. She was a sudden death question and a brain fart away from putting Ben
I wouldn't
Bateman
even say a brain fart. It was a reasonable, because that's the guess I would have made.
Yeah.
It's Western and who stars in, and it's anything before 2000, Clint Eastwood. Like, it's just it's the easy guess,
It was incredible. And, like, it's rare. And I'm, as a fan of Ben Bateman, both like Ben the Boss Bateman and Ben Bateman as a person, it's really fun watching a match that makes him sweat. Because even though I was rooting for him, because now mathematically it's better for the dungeon to win, for me at least, keep points away from the Mercs. But I was, I can't say that I was like, I stopped rooting for Ben, but I was very much enjoying watching him go, oh shit. And that one moment where he, like, got closer and, like, he almost fell into Adam Witt's arms with that deep breath. Also, I think that was a good use of a challenge. I think that was well placed.
The dungeon have had 2. It was like the same exact challenge the week before. What was the challenge in this match again?
Muppets Treasure Island versus Muppets or however the titles actually said.
Oh yeah,
It
it's
was
Muppets versus Muppet.
Yeah.
It was like the S was missing.
Yeah, Muppets Treasure Island and Muppet Treasure Island.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was in the video drew match. Kaiser did a similar challenge.
Yeah.
I don't remember exactly what it was. As it wasn't weeks, it was days.
Okay, it's all
And they
blurring
did go
together.
through, right? They both got overturned, but I think you're right. I think that's still the correct thing to do because they like in both cases it would have flipped them back into them having to go straight to their 5. You know, like I think that is the right play to make. Even though
I
it
think
didn't work out.
strategically, like there's been a very surgical use of the challenge from the dungeon more than any other faction that I can think of. Really, like
I mean, besides Demolanta, right?
Yeah, I just mean like more repeated use of the challenge. Like they are more, I think they are more liable to deploy it.
Yeah,
And
I think
we see an opening. I may not even think this is like, I may not even agree with this, but there's an argument to be made, and it's a point I can keep away from the opponent.
And that might have something to do with the fact that now Adam Witt is managing so many matches that
Perhaps.
because like a lot of the managers are former players, but Adam Witt is a former recent player, like a former current player.
Yeah.
I said former current is an oxymoron, and that's dumb. But like
he's a current player whose season is over right now.
Yeah, like he played this season.
Yeah.
And like knows how that challenge works better than any other manager without question. Maybe except Sam Levine.
Yeah, I
right?
would say like Sam is probably the like aside from Witt. Speaking of Adam Witt in the dungeon, again, we're all curious as to where Kaiser is. I did not realize that was going to become a plot line, it seems like.
I don't know.
Did you watch the post interview?
No.
Steph Sabra asked Ben what's going on with Kaiser. Adam Witt interrupts and says nothing. He's like, nothing's going wrong with Kaiser. I am not taking control over this faction. I am helping take care of what Kaiser has put together. John was the mastermind behind this roster. I'm just helping out. But then Steph Sabra was like, okay, you say that, but also you two are wearing matching outfits. It's like, I feel like something's going on here. And then they cut back to the desk, and Christian and Mark very like immediately went, yeah, what's going on? We haven't seen Kaiser. What's going on with Adam Witt? And it was like, oh, you guys are setting up a plot line.
Interesting.
Very interesting.
Do you think?
Maybe. I don't want to get my
have the best
up.
Christmas ever. Does my boy come home this Christmas?
If I'm going to wait to Spectacular to get you anything for Christmas, because if this is all leading up to like Kaiser bursting out of the gates of hell with Kevin Smets in tow at the end of the season, I don't need to get you anything for Christmas.
It's done.
Nobody does. But yeah, it was very, very interesting conversation was had there. I don't know if it's a Smets thing, but it sounds like here's where I think this is going. I think we're going to end up seeing kind of like a Chekhov's gun type thing where, you know, if you address something existing in the beginning of the story, you're best off having it be relevant by the end. You know, if you say there's a gun on the wall, that gun needs to be shot before the end. I think this might be the payoff of everybody telling Kaiser and Dan Murrell they were idiots for trusting Ben Bateman. And that Ben Bateman is hijacking the dungeon and using Adam Witt as a pawn to make it happen. I think that might be the direction they're going in. Especially because because there's a chance things become Merle versus Bateman at any point this season,
Yeah.
you have an opportunity to make it less of a teammates who were sparring and more of an Obi-Wan versus Anakin. Right?
Mhm.
Where you can turn it into a betrayal. And, that'd be kind of interesting for Dan Murrell right now. Like Dan Murrell's on his anti-hero kick. Have Bateman being the chaotic neutral he is, like turn Murrell into a full heel, and you have selfish heel and pissed off heel going at it. I think it would be interesting.
Now, we do know the real reason he hasn't been there is because he's been having big boy work.
Yeah, he made a joke, and that's the thing with Kaiser and so many of these managers, and when they say shit like I'm a part of the best TV show in the history of CBS, that like I can't tell if he's kidding or not. Like I can't tell if he's just making a joke.
I took that as he's working on a show for CBS and he's very excited about it. So, but that's cool.
John, if you actually have work right now and that's what's going on, I am so happy for Kaiser.
Mm-hmm.
But I can never tell with most of the people in the Schmoedown because they just say shit. But regardless, I'm very much excited for that plot line. Should it be where it's going? Also, Perry Nemiroff, she's one of those really close. You just got to keep pushing the needle a little bit more and more and more before she is a goat killer. Because she almost took out Bateman, she took out KO. I think with if you fine tune her a bit more, and you have her train like a Bateman, like a Merle, stuff like that, you could end up with someone who is capable of elbow dropping people consistently. Because, and I don't like to, A plus B equals C type logic with these matchups. Because we've seen mismatched matches go in different directions than you would expect. But if at this caliber, Perry Nemiroff can take out Kalinowski, almost beat Ben Bateman, I think anyone below that tier of player gets chewed up and spit out by Perry Nemiroff.
I don't know about chewed out and spit up. Yep. We did things yesterday, and now I'm tired. But I think because the thing
I am being hyperbolic, and you're right, but still, I think anyone below.
I think if she gets a category for round 2, training wise, if she starts speccing into a category that is rough for other people, I'm thinking that decades are so hard, but if you can do it, you become an absolute powerhouse. Or Bateman.
She also has a specialty slice. Mike has Bond. She has Jurassic Park.
Yeah.
And horror. She's a horror monster.
So she has Jurassic Park horror. She is good enough in new releases because that's her job.
Yeah, she's a film critic.
If she picks up another, I'm going to just hammer him with this insane, movie release dates or a Tyler Perry, pull a Bateman, then I think that's when she becomes, because that's kind of how Bateman does it, right? Bateman's also great at the game, but he's really good at these categories that no one else can hit. And he gets that double hit of, if I don't get this, but you get it, even if I don't pick up steals, right?
Yeah.
You're checking to every question for round 2 if you get movie release dates. And that's such a boon to him, right?
Absolutely. I apologize. I just got a work text for a moment there.
How dare you?
I know.
How dare you have a job?
I know. I'd rather not. Only because I keep realizing I'm running out of time to nap before I go to work. and that's okay. But yeah, no, I agree with you completely on that. Yeah, moving on. Saul versus Brandon Hanna.
Big one to talk about.
Big one to talk about. Travis, I give you the floor, sir.
I don't think Saul's strategy works. I don't think I don't think Kevin Smets's tried and true strategy of bury them in round 2 and don't give them an inch. I don't think it works anymore, at least, because obviously it worked for Smets. I think in the old Inner Geekdom, if Saul was doing what he's doing now, then we'd have another Kevin Smets in our hands. He has that kind of ferocity, that kind of I know my shit. I'm going first in round 2. I'm going to bury you in a lead, and you're never recovering. He's got that on lock. The division is too wide now. You cannot trust yourself to getting a perfect round 2. It's just not possible. And because of that, because the way when I'm listening, ooh, that was a bad one. Did you hear that?
No.
I did a hearty voice crack.
I couldn't make it out. So
turn this number around, and that's my age right now. Solid 15.
Solid 15.
I don't remember. I think it's Coy. Coy does this. When his players are going into round 2, he says, from our stance, if they go in at 8 points, and it's if it's Inner Geekdom, they have 8 going into round 2. It's virtually, you're at 18. As far as we're concerned right now, you're at 18, right? I think that's a good way to look at your points, is not as how many points can I get up? It's what's the highest I can be at. And knowing that putting myself in any deficit of that, what they have to do to match that so I'm still in the lead, considering your points that way, almost like a resource in a sense, is something that can benefit people in round 2. And I don't, because you go into round 2 from Inner Geekdom, right? You've had 10 questions. Maybe you hit your perfect round. You're at 11. You do not have the ability anymore to go virtually. I'm at 21.
Yeah.
I just don't think between, we've seen Saul windmill slamming on Planet of the Apes and then whiffing on half his questions. And that's not a knock on Saul. That's because Planet of the Apes is a terrifying category.
Well, you gotta figure,
in this match, they said, just to continue for a second, they said if Hanna stole that 2 point, either of the questions in the Spider-Man category, right, that Saul missed. I think I got that right. Maybe it was, yeah. We're in a different game because now Saul has to answer his 2 before Hanna has to answer his 3, right? So he got lucky this time. And I'm not saying this to knock Saul. I think that he's still a fantastic player, but he needs to be ready for this to not work. Because it keeps either almost not working or in that one case, not working. And he either needs to go deep on a couple categories and be just ready to hammer out a hopefully perfect round 2, or be ready to have more matches like this one. You were...
it's just a point that I've made before and that I just think warrants being reiterated here. That Inner Geekdom used to have that vibe of we're all nerds and we have a passing nerd knowledge in a lot of things. And then I have the thing that I like a lot. With Rachel Cushing, it was, I know a lot about all of this shit, but boy, do I like my Lord of the Rings. With Mike, it's DC, DCEU, Batman, whatever. Last season, it was Alex Damon likes all of these movies, but oh, sweet baby Jesus, you better run and hide if you spin Star Wars. here, like you can't just like you can't just coast on. I've seen a lot of comic book movies and I like Star Wars.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like that's just that's just not the category that it is. And it's so funny that, like, again, like we were talking about Ethan Erwin being competitive now in this division. You know, like it's turned into a very specific version of singles, like we've said before, where you have
there were two questions about RIPD in this match.
Yeah.
In this one match, right? Like, those are the... I never saw that movie. Like, I don't know anyone who saw that movie. Maybe I do, because you probably saw it.
I don't think I did.
I don't know anyone that's seen that movie.
I just pulled the question because I saw the trailers a bunch whenever we were listening to it last night.
That's why I'm saying Ethan Erwin can hang. That's why Amaru Moses scares me so much, because he picked graphic novels, which is the category, I think, for someone like Ethan Erwin, because these are just like, Frank said it last time he was on, most of these movies people don't know are based on graphic novels, right? Like, for graphic novels, I'm like, okay, there's like V for Vendetta, Scott Pilgrim versus the World, I Frankenstein like 8 times, right? That tends to be one of their go-to get 'em movies.
Watchmen.
No, I think they put Watchmen in DC. It could go in both.
I know. It annoys me though, but it's okay.
But that's but then you have an RIPD. I think that's where that ends up, right?
Yeah.
So movies like that like an Ethan Erwin would have seen or worked on or been around for, that they would have had to know for singles, we have in Inner Geekdom now, which is their boon. And by contrast, we've seen a lot of our enfranchised champion players thrive in spite of that. Like, they're like, because a lot of them also branch into singles, right? Mara's not a singles player, but lives with the GOAT singles champion.
Merlin also just knows a lot about movies in general.
Yeah,
and that's the thing with Mara is that, in like, top tier Inner Geekdom players aren't going to be the ones who are super affected by this, because this is already shit that was in their wheelhouse.
And plus,
right?
they're all capable of speccing into singles, right? Mara's played at a free-for-all and held her own. Mike and Rachel played in singles.
Yes.
Smets, although he didn't do great, did that free-for-all, or like that exhibition. He played at a free-for-all, right? Like, he can hang. He just hasn't studied. And that's what I'm saying. Like, a lot of the deep Inner Geekdom players, that, especially the ones that have won belts, are capable and have played in singles, right?
And that goes back to, pardon me, that goes back to what we were talking about last night in the hotel. You know, like, I'm very curious to see how Smets does whenever, if/when he comes back, because there is this, like, I want to know, like, how well does he traverse something like a Planet of the Apes? Graphic novels, swashbuckling adventure, time travel, like dystopian time travel. Like, I think those are going to roll off his back. I don't think I am not afraid for Kevin Smets for anything but these oddball ones, like Apes,
Transformers.
But Transformers was a part of original IG, though, wasn't it?
No,
it wasn't. No, that's right. No, that was a big deal that it got added. And that's one of those weird ones. Like, it feels like it should have been here the whole time. But like maybe Transformers, because not a lot of people are like super fond of those movies. But like, when you're dealing with people of this caliber, you can
even see it in the distribution of questions, right? Because like with Transformers, the harder the question, the later the movie, or earlier, right? Like the really hard questions are either Transformers the movie, like the animated movie from the 80s.
Because they feel like a trick question. Because every time you go, it can't be that one.
Yeah, exactly. Or it's about last night or Age of it, like whatever the last couple were that don't have what's his name in them, you know?
Yeah, Shia LaBeouf.
Shia LaBeouf, thank you. I was gonna start using adjectives that weren't kind to him, so because he's a little batshit crazy, and I love it, but everything after 3, most people felt like the first 3 weren't good, so everyone was like, "Oh, these are just they're gonna keep going. All right, well, we're not gonna watch them."
And it sounded like they certainly got better. So,
Yeah,
except for Bumblebee, apparently.
Bumblebee.
Yeah, IG's a crazy beast, and
I'm just not sure the bury him in round 2 strategy works anymore. It's one of those things that goes both ways where, like, on one hand, you can't, if you can trust yourself to get that perfect round 2, it probably does, right? Like, if Saul can guarantee a near perfect round 2 or a perfect round 2 but checking only once or twice, it probably works again because your opponent's almost guaranteed to miss 1 or 2.
Yep. Yeah.
It's too hard. Like, it's too difficult to guarantee yourself that. And that's by design. I think it makes for better games. I think it makes for more strategy and questions and choices on the wheel slices, and whether you go to multiple choice, there's a lot of gameplay choices you make now instead of doing the hard aggro, rush them in round 2 and hope it sticks. And again, I'm not trying to knock Saul as a player. I think he's a fantastic player. And I think once he gets out of this, like, I need to... Once he gets to a more resilient style of play, because the knowledge he does have, the deep cuts he does have are intense. It's just a matter of getting more of them or getting more of them collected into a couple of categories, or just broadening his knowledge on categories he isn't, like, super enthralled in.
Yeah.
And I think I think he's shaping up to be one of the best Intergeekdom players. It's just going to take a season or 2 for him to really get going.
I think he has the knowledge now, and he just has to figure out the best, like, strategies to pair with his knowledge base.
Mm-hmm.
And I think the same for Brandon Hanna. I think he's a damn good player. I think he's one of those. I think he's a competitor who ends up having to face off with powerhouses, and he gets consistently beaten by them. People want to talk shit on Brandon Hanna. Like, he isn't going toe to toe with Saul and Robert Parker on the regular.
You look at him in this match, he performed almost identical with Saul, except he got saddled with a much more difficult round 2 category and just ludicrously hard 3-pointer and a ludicrously hard 5-pointer.
Yeah.
He got 2 plot questions in his round 3. That nobody has any right to watch.
Yeah.
So
I agree with you.
For the hand he was dealt, I think he did a phenomenal job.
I agree with you. And I look forward to seeing Saul in round 2 of the tourney. Last match here, we were all kind of slap happy and falling asleep by the time we got to this one. But I will say, I think brackets got broken here.
This is what I was talking about.
Yeah.
Because I would have put, I'm sure you would have put, Shannon Miller up into round 2, and she didn't get there. And
she did not.
Came down to a 5-pointer she didn't know.
Yep.
That's where we're at. That's where that's where matches end up getting made, is in that 5-pointer slot.
Yeah. And that's pretty much all there is to say on this one, is like, I think a lot of, it was neck and neck, and
this is our way of saying we only kind of paid attention to it because it was 2:30 in the morning.
I mean, yeah.
Like, we weren't even, you and I didn't have like an, oh, moment. We both went, oh, shit. Didn't expect that.
Yeah.
Oh, well, going to bed.
Yeah. And we only listened to Schmodown matches because we couldn't convince Alexis to wallow in dread with us and listen to It Could Happen Here. Because Travis and I can't help but get a little
I wasn't
doomery.
going to listen to it last night.
I
I was too happy to let that happen.
Valid. Although I will say, I don't know if you'll listen to today's episode yet or not, but
I'm banking him up for work.
good. That's a good idea. It's actually quite uplifting by the end. He has a very good like cherry that he puts on top of this first week episodes that I was very, very appreciative of. But yeah, Travis, well, let's talk upcoming week. I say upcoming week because we'll be covering these next week. So Drew McQueenie versus Ty the Tyrant Lieberman.
Windmill Slam, Drew McQueenie.
Huh?
Windmill Slam, Drew McQueenie.
Okay. Adam Collins versus Jate.
Oh, God. Collins barely. Like, JT has been playing so phenomenally that it's hard for me to count him out. I think Collins is just that consistent. You know?
Yeah. I agree with you. I think Collins is here to end the return fanfare of JTE. Jeff Snyder versus Chance Ellison.
Because I just said Collins, and it'd be really, really crappy to not know the bracket until the very last possible moment, I'm going to say Chance. Because that's just the way it's going to shake out, because no one can be happy. Except for you, you'll be happy.
I'll be very happy.
But also, I think it's one of those things where Chance has that in everywhere he plays. That consistent, he's always at 90%. And he is comfortable there. He knows it's good enough most of the time. And he knows that the fact that he's always there is terrifying enough to scare his opponents, especially the wibbly-wobbly ones, into their lower end, right? So, like, if he can just stay on that path until Snyder misses first, he's pretty much in gold. If, you know, and even if Snyder hits first and he goes on or if he misses first and Snyder goes on like a bit of a hot streak, it's not going to rattle him, you know?
Yeah.
Especially because Snyder isn't the kind of player to just really rub it in to his opponent. I mean, like, he kind of is, but he's more performing, and when he is doing well, he's really upbeat and happy and, like, gung-ho, you know?
Yeah.
But that won't get to Chance. Like, it can get to some players. It won't bother Chance. Bless you.
Thank you.
And not to count out Jeff Snyder, but I think just the way Chance plays, I think I'm going to have to give it to Chance.
I am right there with you. Pardon me. I was like, couldn't tell if I had another one coming. Number one contender match of Final Exam versus Lightning Time.
Final Exam, because they're more seasoned team. Even though I want Ethan to win. It's weird because, like, I'm not that I dislike the Suspects. I'm not a Suspects fan, and I'm not an Ethan Erwin fan. But now that I've put my, like, slight backing into Ethan Erwin 3 belts, I want it to happen just so I'm right. You know, like I just want to be able to.
Welcome to how I call anything involving corruption. I'm a fan, and I want to be right.
I think Oyama's on a hot streak. He's in my top 4 for the singles bracket. I think. Or no, wait. He's with the kid. I don't remember. All I know is I was like, Oyama's in contention for that. Because Oyama's really, really good. And he's playing like a madman this season. And I think they have the power to take down Liz and Ethan.
I think they could. I think this is a good team that could take out Lightning Time. I don't think it will. I think Lightning Time is going to emerge victorious. I think that even though Final Exam is a little bit more has more matches under their belts, I think that Lightning Time has a little bit more consistency, is a little bit more precise, and I feel like Lightning Time is going to come out on top. Moose Haas versus Chance the Cobra Ellison. It's a moose versus a cobra.
This one's even harder. Again, just because he's the more well-known player, I'm going to say Chance. The more proven player, I guess. Even though Moose did well in his first match, it's hard to gauge, right? Like, because the match was silent and we didn't hear him playing.
Yeah.
That it's hard to be like, how to see how he did against Moses. But I think even like he's a Finstock rookie. That means he's phenomenal.
Yes.
But I think that, again, Chances has that consistency to expect. So I'm going to say Chance. It's like 51-49 for that for me. But
all right.
I know you're saying Chance because it's Chance. So
yeah. Paulo Yama versus Nick Harley in the singles tournament.
Oyama.
I agree.
On one hand, I don't. No offense to Nick Harley, I don't know who they are. Second of all, again, really? Oh, you're saying for Oyama?
Yeah.
I thought you meant Nick Harley was a former champ, and I'm like, how the hell don't I know this person?
No, I'm saying like, regardless of like not being familiar with Nick Harley, like, not that it's impossible. Other people haven't done it before. Like,
former champ has won a free for all. Like, again, is on fire this season, despite really not having a belt yet. Like, he has 85 different ways to being a champion by the end of season 8.
Yeah.
So.
I don't think this is like with me. Why bother asking? Paulo or Brendan Meyer versus Jacoby Bancroft.
Even though I really like Jacoby Bancroft.
Yeah.
Obviously. Current defending team's champion, Brendan the Kid Meyer, has got this on lock.
I agree with you on that one. I think that
I would not be surprised.
It's going to be a fight. It's going to be a fight, but it's going to be a good one.
I would not be surprised if there was an upset, and it wouldn't be much of an upset. But I think Brendan's got this. Part of me looking at the bracket personally also wants to see the kid just take it all the way a little bit. I want him to finally have his shot at the singles belt. Because he's just that good, and that because he has proved himself, right? Like as a player, he just hasn't gotten that shot yet. He's almost like our current Ben, or like old Ben Bateman.
Yeah,
just like everyone
like that comparison.
Like, because again, I hadn't seen him play much, but everyone, when I came into the Schmodown, was talking about Ben Bateman like he's the best player to never win a belt. He will get there at some point, guaranteed. We don't know when, we don't know how, but he will get there. That's how I feel about Brendan Meyer with the singles belt. It helps that he's won a belt twice now and defended it, but
I am going to say real quick, I am upset that due to my work schedule, there's no real way for me to watch the live event with you, and that upsets me. We got Mike the Killer Kalinowski. I said it, felt like I said, did I say it correctly?
Yeah.
I felt like I just psyched myself into mispronouncing it, versus Chandru Dandapani in the Inner Geekdom title match. We talked about this. Travis, final predictions. Going into a very big match next week.
Still Kalinowski. I am interested to see how the smack talk affects him.
Me too.
And because they're going to have a buzzer.
I have a buzzer and the crowd.
Yeah.
I think you can do it. Counting on him. Counting on you, KO. Keep it. Keep that belt. And then we can't really say much about the last match because it's pretty much completely determined by who wins earlier, or wins tonight.
Yeah.
Which will be sad for me if I'm correct on both, of course, because then I have to pick. I don't want to have to pick.
Based on our prediction for tonight, I'm going with Collins. Like, even
I think
like,
Collins. Yeah, if it's Collins versus Chance, I think Collins wins it. Yeah.
Even just looking at the four of them, of the four, I would give the vote to Collins. Like in any combination of them.
Like if it was a fatal 4-way.
Yes.
Yeah.
Or if their matches were flipped and like Snyder was playing Collins. Yeah, okay, I got that right. If Snyder was playing Collins and Chance was playing JTE, I'd still put it at Collins winning next week or whenever 2 weeks from now, whatever it is. Just because I think, with only one singles defeat and it being after a super run.
Yeah. It's going to be a hell of a week next week, and I'm excited for it. And then that's all for August. Yeah. I think that's all we got for you guys this week. Travis, where can the lovely people find you?
Getting my brain function back, but not at Travis Political on Twitter and Instagram, because that's where you go to lose brain cells,
Certainly. Or look at our cool pictures and videos from the concert. Ooh.
True. I realized this morning I didn't take a single picture last night.
It is a good thing Alexis and I were documenting.
That's part of the reason I did. Like, for one, my phone was in her purse most of the time because of the rain. And then I don't know, like between knowing you two were doing that and not, just wanting to feel it,
Yeah.
Because I've caught myself doing that at concerts before, where like my phone's up the whole time, and I'm like, why am I doing this? I was way more into it last night, not recording things. And granted, like, not that that's a bad thing. It's just that like,
oh yeah, I know I've had to catch myself. The rule I have is if I record things, is that I make a conscious effort to make sure I am not looking at the event through the phone.
Mm-hmm.
Like that's the thing I do, where I'll just be like, okay, I have the shot. I'm looking over here now. Because for exactly what you said, like the only way that I will, because I know I get sucked out of the moment if I'm watching through my phone. So if I just like go, okay, and I'm going to put my arm over here to record it while I actually look with my eyeballs and my ears. But yeah, that's where you can find Travis.
Jarod?
Yes.
Where?
You guys can find me on Twitter and Instagram at DarkJedi2552. You can find the Nerd Academy podcast on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, and wherever you listen to podcasts. Also on our website, www.thenerdacademypodcast.com, where, if you're feeling generous, you can donate to our Patreon page. Speaking of our patrons, thank you to our $10 alumnus, Fikey's Broomer Burner. It throws me off every time. It just get out of my mouth. Fikey's Broomer Burner, Delta 9, Zach Canals, the Waffle Wizard, Michael Armburst, and Jared the Light Sith. Thank you all so very much for your patronage. It is greatly appreciated. Be sure to consider the $5 tier as well. Be sure to look at the TeePublic, where you get all manner of Nerd Academy merch and goodies. Be sure to like, comment, share, subscribe, rate, review, do all the things. We are I almost said we're on. You joined us like it's a Star Wars show. My brain's shutting down too, and I don't have an hour to take a nap. So thank you all so very much for listening. Smash cancer.
Stop! Move away from the cookie jar!